What's up, boys? So today I'm going to talk about my experience of joining the RAF Reserves, and this is completely unscripted. I've not made any notes. I just thought, look, I'm driving for a bit and I thought I'd give you guys a bit of information on what I found and how I enjoyed the RAF and all these different things. So hopefully you enjoy it. And one of the reasons I did want to speak about this is because I actually learned a lot from joining the RAF. It was only a small amount of time. I was only in there for about 2 to 3 years, and between signing up and joining and leaving, etc. But I learned a hell of a lot of valuable skills from the RAF. So the point of it is if you're maybe, I don't know, 18 to 25, maybe even up to 30, whatever, if you were struggling with some life skills or organisation, or you wanted something to do on the weekends to kind of give you a kick up the arse, to get you into gear, to give you that kind of like professionality in your life, then I would highly recommend joining some kind of military reserve force, because for me personally, I really benefited from it, even if it was just a short amount of time, and I'm going to go into that now. But first of all, I'm going to tell you how I got into the RAF Reserves, what that process looked like, and that started, I think I was around 23 or 24 years old. I think around 24 years old. And the main reasons that I joined the RAF is because I was just bored on the weekends, to be honest. I always loved the military. Like, you know, I don't know if you get this feeling when you watch military films, but for me, I get like an emotional feeling when I see like heroic acts or fights and battles and shit like that. I love that shit. I've always said to my friends, like me and my friends always said, I'd love to be back in the Viking days where we could just charge into a village and just, yeah, I shouldn't say what I'm about to say, but yeah, you know what I mean, you know, just take over and conquer. I wish I could be in like a world where I could get on the back of a horse and just charge into battle with a fucking legion of fucking soldiers behind me. You know, that's when I wish I would have alive. Like, I love life now, but that would have been fucking epic. So yeah, I always get this kind of like epic feeling when I'm seeing like a military battle, whatever the age or time may be. So I thought, yeah, I want to go see what military life is like, get a bit of a piece of it. But I was still growing my business, you know, I was still running my business at the time. So I wasn't able to go into it full time, and I wouldn't want to go into it full time. I'll explain that in a short while, why I wouldn't want to go full time. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to join up the RAF Reserves. And I originally joined up to be I wanted to work on the planes, obviously, but you can't ever really do that on the reserves. So I just got put into a RAF regiment gunner position. I thought, fuck it, it's the only position they got available. I'll give it a try. At least I get to get some hand-to-hand action. I don't know what I call it, soldier fucking action. So, you know, I thought, yeah, I'll give it a try. So I got signed up, I did my medical. One thing that straight away was apparent to me was how slow it is to get into the military. Like, it took me like at least a year from applying to actually getting in and actually getting started. And in between that period, I had to do like 2 full medical tests, and they were like really in-depth medical tests, eyesight tests, hearing tests, all this kind of stuff. So immediately there was a sense of very much like high-level health and safety was at play, and that came in as a very big theme later on down the line. And yeah, so eventually I got in and joined, and the first year was actually pretty exciting, to be fair. You know, you're quite new to it. You go there on the weekend, you spend 1 weekend per month. And it was about an hour and a half drive from where I was. It was in Lincolnshire. I'm in Derby. It's about an hour and a quarter drive, I think. So I would go there on a weekend on a Friday night and leave on Sunday afternoon. And it was pretty interesting. You know, we did different things. We got our kit ready. We'd learn different PowerPoints, go through different aircraft situations, map reading, all the different things that you'd just expect from the RAF regiment. You know, force protection, things like that. Some things were interesting, some things were really not that interesting, but it's just all part of it. You know, some things that didn't really interest me, I'd kind of switched off for. But, you know, it was cool. I got used to it, and I went there once a month for the weekend, and it got me out of my normal life. And that's one thing I did like about it. You know, when you're in the military, you are in like a bit of a bubble, because you're not on your phone. You're just with your kind of comrades, or you're with your partners and the squadron and etc. And, you know, you kind of build up that kind of brotherhood, which is great, because I needed something like that at my time of my life. Very much similar to the New Elite with what that is like for me right now. And yeah, that's basically where I was. So I just started doing the basic trainings, marching, all that kind of shit, all that sort of stuff. And it was good fun. I enjoyed it. So then eventually, once I'd done all the training, I went to RAF Halton for 2.5 weeks, and I did the Reserves basic training course, which was really cool, really interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's tough. You know, it's not easy. A lot of people might say it is easy, but if you're going into the military with absolutely no experience, you know, no military experience, not knowing what you're expecting, it's a tough couple of weeks. You know, you're doing a lot of work. It's very, very intense. You're turning up on there on the Friday night, and until from the moment you get there to the moment you leave after 2 weeks or so, it is absolutely 120% the whole time. There is not a single moment to break at all. So it was a very interesting 2 weeks. I met lots of cool people. You definitely build a very strong brotherhood with the people that you are working with, or you're in your squadron or your groups. You build a very strong brotherhood because you're not communicating or spending time with anybody else but them in those 2 weeks. So you make great friendships. So that's one of the things I definitely found from the military, is I made amazing friendships. Now, I'd say the main key points I learned from being in the RAF and that 2 weeks where I learned most of the things is organisational skills, and being organised is super important. So like certain things like how our burgans or backpacks you'd call them would be organised in a certain way. Things always go in the same place, so you know exactly where to find it every time, how to remove those quickly, all these different things. Organisation was a massive key factor in the military experience that I had, and I really took that forward in my life afterwards. I'm really much more organised in the way I am, just set out all my things, especially at work as well. Communication, so really keeping communication down to a minimum and only delivering key information and not blabbering on all the time, even though I do blabber on at this camera all the time sometimes. Whatever, it's hard when I'm talking to a camera, but I always try to be concise in the way that I speak to people and the information I give to them. That was one thing I took away from the military. Also teamwork. Teamwork is a huge thing in the military. We all know that. It's just a common knowledge, and that was really drilled into me in my time at the RAF, and it was super important taking that forward. It helped me when I was building my team in my business, and it helps me even to this day. And teamwork for me is so important now. A couple of the things that happened at like a recent masterminds that I've been at, especially the one with the new elites, I think it was in January, the teamwork aspects that I learned from the military experience I had, paired with Nikolai and another guy, we just smashed some of the challenges. It was super good because we had that knowledge behind us, you know, that teamwork worked. And yeah, so teamwork was a massive thing, and you need to build a team as well if you want to be successful in business. That's one thing I learned. So the 2 weeks that I did at RAF Holton, they were super important to me growing as a person. After that, what I realised is that I was going down to the weekends, and we were just kind of repeating things, and I just got to the point where we were doing things really slow, just to pass the weekend, and I started to get a little bit bored because we were doing the same things every weekend. And yeah, I just ended up then going ahead with my business, just grow my business from the 2 years from when I entered the RAF to the present. That time I was thinking about leaving, my business had just basically exploded. So I was just taking on loads more work, things were much more hectic, my life was much more hectic with work, and going down on the weekends just became a bit of a chore for me. And I just felt that I didn't fall in love with the thing that I had the first time, because we were doing the same things, and I need constant adrenaline, constant new adventures, new excitement. And when I was going to the same thing and not really seeing any progress and not seeing anything in front of me, like seeing people who have been there for 10 years doing the same thing as I was doing, I just didn't see that was going to give me much more excitement when I was already trying to build my business. So that's the only reason I left. It wasn't the fact that I hated the military or anything. I loved it, absolutely loved it. I just got a little bit bored and my business was taking off, so I had to make a sacrifice and basically not go anymore. But overall, my experience of being in the military was completely positive, and I highly recommend it for anyone who just wants that little bit of extra guidance or wants to push themselves a little bit more, because it will benefit you. I can guarantee it. And I would go, if I had time, I'd go back and do something. If there was a guarantee we're going to do exciting things and not just sitting PowerPoints every single time we went there, then yeah, I would go back absolutely, because I loved it. But I think I'll find that from private military training in the future. One thing I definitely want to do when I get to Dubai is start to really master my own personal military skills, whether it be gun handling or tactical situations, situation awareness. That kind of stuff really interests me. I love that shit, and I want to take that forward. And I think the best way to do that is on a private basis, where you've not got government health and safety problems in front of you, because that was one of the things that was always holding us back. Health and safety was a big thing, so anything was a chore to do because you always had to go through these processes, and it was like, I get why health and safety is important, but they're just more worried about having health and safety claims from people who are in the military rather than just getting shit done, and I couldn't really deal with that. That was really getting on my nerves, starting to piss me off. So I see that will definitely be a theme or something I want to start improving as I go into my 30s now. So I'll be looking for private military training. I'd love to do that. I've always liked it. I don't know why, but I've always liked the idea of being a PMC, a private military contractor one day. Probably never going to happen, but I think that's a pretty fucking cool job. I spoke to Nikolai, my friend, about that recently, and yeah, we both agree that that'd be an awesome job. Maybe one day, who knows? That'd be pretty fucking cool. I tell you what, if I could get my skills up enough in the next like few years, and then go on like a private military contract, you know, just escape for a bit, turn my phone off and go do this job, and God knows what I'll be doing. Maybe some private security. That'd be pretty cool. Like, that shit interests me just as much as like building a business. You know, I have got many interests in my life. Building a business and running a business and things like that. You know, being an entrepreneur is not just my only interest. I wouldn't ever turn my eye away from something on a military background, but yeah. So yeah, that was just a bit of a random video, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to ask me anything else about my experience in the RAF, then please feel free. I'm not saying I've been some top soldier. I've not. I've been here for 2.5, 3 years. I had a great time, and that's it. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.